Can we, especially the noisy councillors. Okay, so we are about to start the live streaming, which tonight is only going to be audio. We're having a problem with the camera. So it will be on YouTube or to watch it later, but it will also not contain video. So welcome everyone to this meeting of the Finance Strategy Management Committee. Now we've got a large agenda, but I am going to just slightly unusually, we've got a new member of the press here, and she did ask me if I could just briefly sort of name the various councillors around the table, so she doesn't misquote someone and someone gets landed with Stefan's quote. So we have Councillor Hoskins, Tony Hoskins.
Or if it's a good quote. Yes. It was from
yeah, well, we're still waiting for that stuff. So we've got Councillor Tony Hoskins, Councillor Rob Romans, he's Vice Chair of this committee, Councillor Simon Payne, Councillor Lawrence Plant, Councillor Michelle Thomas, the Town Clerk, Sheridan, I'm Ian Reisman, Chair, Mercedes Monroy, right, second name there, who's the accountant, Councillor Stefan Gavishak, Councillor Rory Hunt, and Madam Mayor, Councillor Kelly Hinton. Okay, let's get on with the agenda. Yeah, welcome everyone. Item number one, apologies for absence. Do we have any? May all be here.
Also, we do have apologies from Councillor Miller.
Oh, right. Okay, of course, yes. Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? In case it should come up, I have a. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I have a other registrable interest in the Trustee of the River and Road Museum. So in relation to their grant application tonight.
Okay, right. And I have a peculiar interest in agenda item 10, item 6. Are there any others? Okay. Item number 3, public participation. I did briefly explain to you, but if you would like to speak, I think most of you hear about the grants applications. Is anyone not here about a grants application? Right. In that case, yeah. Well, what I'd like to do is put your hand up to speak, and you get 3 minutes. Please try and be brief and not repetitive. We are interested in what you've got to say, and I'll take you sort of one group at a time. So just looking at the list of applications, we have tonight we have Be Free Young Carers. Is someone here to speak about that? Yeah, please do. If you give your name, just so we know.
Yeah, my name is Fiona North. I'm CEO of Be Free Young Carers. Do you just want me to go ahead? Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so we are a small charity based at Harwell campus. We cover South Oxfordshire, Vale, and Oxford City. Recently expanded into Oxford City. We support young carers in Oxfordshire, aged 8 to 17 years old, that have either got care and responsibility for either a parent or sibling. That can be the disability, mental health concern, substance, drug, or alcohol use. And these are children doing adult roles. They're caring for their parents, and it is a crying shame that they're doing that. We support them by providing respite activities, by doing one-to-one emotional support. We've recently expanded our counselling service that we are supporting them with their mental health. We've recently set up in primary schools something called mindfulness movement program. So we try and do a preventative measure for the young carers. We offer a befriending service where we train volunteers to match with one of our young carers, and they have respite every week for a period of 6 months. We're seeing a huge increase in demand for our services and a huge increase in poverty as well. Digital poverty, we provide all our young carers at a secondary school age with laptops. We also try and combat period poverty, hygiene poverty, and also food. We provide them with a meal or a snack at every interaction that they have with us. And we're here this evening applying for funding so that we can do more in Henley. We have really focused on the other areas, and we really know that there's huge need in Henley. So that's part of our application. That's us.
Thank you. That's very clear and helpful. Is there anyone else from Be Free Young Carers? Okay, so is there anyone here wants to speak up for the Henley Baptist Church? Okay.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bray. What this particular funding we're asking for is for the family centre, a soft play area that's opened every morning for mums and dads of under fives and or carers. And we're not just a centre where people can go and play. We also are part of sort of a bigger setup so that we provide free spaces for those under 6 months. So with babies under 6 months, so we can pick up people who have needs, who maybe need to be linked with Nomad or linked with the debt centre, or even just getting involved. We run a Ukrainian cafe there as well, so they get free places down at the family centre. Nomad will refer people to the family centre for free places. So it's not just a place where people can bring their children to play, it's where we offer a service to the community to provide a safe place for people to chat. We have one paid worker and the rest is done by volunteers. But the paid worker is there to connect with people, to sort of just try and gauge whether people are experiencing problems, need help, need our support, and we then signpost them to the right place. So it's not just for playing, it's more than that. We try to meet as many needs as we can for these young mums. And it's just also a great place for them, because it is, when you're a young mum, it's so isolating for people, and this is a point of connection. So particularly if Nomad are coming across someone who's not connecting into the community, this will be a good place for them to start making friends, building relationships and getting connected into the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Thomas just pointed out that the councillors may want to ask questions, and I'll come back to Be Free Young Carers in a moment. But has anyone got any questions to ask the Baptist Church? Okay, then, did you have a question for the Be Free Young Carers?
Yes, I did. I just wondered how many people you think you want to reach out to in Henley?
We estimate it used to be it used to be 2 young carers in every classroom in Oxfordshire. That has gone up to 3 now, and that is one that we know about. So we anticipate probably between 120 to 150 in Henley that we know about. Some of our programmes, so for example, we do a World Book Day tour where we get a young carer author that goes around primary schools to help teachers to try and identify young carers and help young carers identify that they are young carers, because some of them don't know that they are. So it's something we're really proactively trying to encourage identification of young carers, but roughly 120 to possibly 150.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gaveston, that's a very high number.
Sorry, can I ask so that's the estimate.
Yeah.
What is your mechanism for actually finding them and identifying them and then starting to work with them?
Yeah. So we've tried and tested in many ways. We've got referral forms on our website, and anyone can refer in. We are finding that schools are closer to the children, and it's easier for schools to refer in. Parents also know that they've got young carers, and it used to be typically coming from quite working class background that were identified as young carers, but we're finding it's affecting all different classes now. So it's mainly schools that we get referrals in from their teachers and from parents. But we are trying to raise awareness around using the school network as well to try to identify those young carers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, the River and Road Museum. Do I have anyone from the River and Road Museum? Thanks, it appears. Riverside Counselling Service. Would you like to speak, please?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name's Talia Jervis. I'm the Chief Executive of Riverside Counselling Service. I've been in post for about 2 months now. So I'm relatively new to the organisation, which gives me a great perspective to talk to you, because I've been so impressed by what it does and what it delivers. Effectively, it provides low cost or no cost counselling service in some cases to people who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford counselling. It's hugely embedded within the Henley community. We're extremely grateful for the support we've had thus far from the town council, but also other funders within Henley. And we have excellent links throughout Henley, which we are looking to build. We already have exchanged contact with B3, who said that they refer their clients through to us. I'm not going to run through the whole of the grant application. You've had an opportunity to look at that. What I would emphasise is, like others in this room, we are seeing an increase both in the kind of number of clients, but also the complexity of clients that we seek to serve. And I was only today looking through the presenting issues for many of our clients, which range from things like ADHD to autism to self-harm to body dysmorphia, to PTSD. So many of these can present all in a single client. Our services can be transformational and indeed life-saving for clients. And I think that's partly what my application, which I did quite early on in my tenure, doesn't really kind of truly bring across. There are a couple of client quotes in there, but it doesn't bring across the kind of changes we can make for an individual. And the changes that individual experiences also feed through into their families and into the community. So the importance that plays out across the whole of the Henley community in terms of what we do. I know that I'm not, you would invite Claire, I hope, next to speak, but she will actually tell you about a client case story, just to help you to help bring our service alive for you, so you understand the kind of depth and extent of the change that we're making for people who may be living down the street from you.
Thank you. Would you like to speak?
It's a real privilege to be here this evening. In fact, 10 years ago this month, I began my placement counselling at the CAB, literally over there. So it's really lovely to speak to you here tonight. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about a young adult called Susan in her early 20s. Susan grew up in a chaotic household, which centred around her mother, who was an alcoholic. Her parents divorced when Susan was 8. And she didn't see her father very much after that. During Susan's childhood and adolescence, it was punctuated by her mother's drinking. Her mother also attempted suicide on 3 occasions. Her considerable difficulties and preoccupations meant that Susan's appropriate needs were often overlooked and were not prioritised. Her mum was heavily reliant on Susan to look after her. And it's very young carer. I have no idea whether Susan knew of your service, but yeah, young carer. Her mother was heavily reliant on her. She grew up feeling a huge sense of responsibility for her mother and for her well-being. When Susan first came to Riverside, she was suffering from depression, was feeling lost and hopeless. She avoided social contacts and was very isolated. She became involved with a man who was some years older than herself, who was himself an alcoholic. There was a suggestion that he behaved abusively towards her. This young woman was really not thriving. She did not feel deserving of anything, often felt worthless, and was finding life incredibly difficult. It took Susan some time to develop a trusting therapeutic relationship with the counsellor. She's not used to someone being available to her, listening to her. But bit by bit, she began to feel safe enough to be able to share her difficulties and process some of her experiences. She gradually learned that she had appropriate needs and could put in boundaries to protect herself. Instead of prioritising other people's needs, for the first time in her life, she could start to think about what she wanted for herself. As trust in her counsellor deepened, Susan was able to feel really supported, and perhaps for the first time she was able to internalise a sense that she did have a value and she could make choices for herself. She split up from her boyfriend and started to talk of her childhood dream of becoming a vet. If we fast forward to where Susan is now, she recently embarked on an apprenticeship, and when she qualifies, she's guaranteed a job which will enable her to get her own flat and live home. She's looking forward to gaining her own independence and is more optimistic for the future. Through counselling, Susan has come to realise she's not responsible for her mother's well-being, however much she cares for her mum, and is recognising that there are other people and organisations who might be better equipped to support her mum. This is still work in progress. There is a tendency for her mum to drink as soon as Susan goes out of the house, which intensifies the guilt that Susan experiences. However, she is continuing to process her feelings and work on building her resilience. Her courage has undoubtedly enabled her to break an unhealthy cycle within her wider family dynamic. Her therapy also perhaps illustrates what we call the ripple effect, and that's where one person's therapy can sort of permeate outwards. The positive impact that has can ripple outwards into her family, hopefully, and mum, and into the wider community. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was excellent. Thank you. It makes us realise that it's very important that we're doing it tonight. I don't have any questions for the website counselling. Right, Brina Henley, you're next. Who would like to speak on that?
So I'm Chris Bond. I'm newly elected as treasurer of Brina Henley, and this is quite a large grant application for us. So just wanted to introduce myself because I'll be looking after it. And then later on, Kate will talk about what we're actually doing. I've taken over from Patrick Fleming, who some of you may know, who's moved away from the area. And he's put in place in the as treasurer lots of rigorous management and documentation of all the different parts. Brina Henley's involved in all sorts of different projects, and Patrick set up everything to manage all that. I'll be taking over that and extending it, and following Patrick's lead of getting the accounts checked every year by an external auditor, a chartered accountant.
Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm the newly elected chair of Brina Henley. I'm not going to talk through each aspect of the application because you've got that in front of you, and obviously if you've got any questions, we're here. But I wanted to talk about why this application is so important to us. We know that we're really lucky in Henley to have a really active community starting to really increase awareness of and take action in relation to the emergency. We have the training, the council training the other week at the council. The council's declared a climate emergency, acknowledged the nature emergency, and there are things that are really starting to happen. We've got loads of wonderful community groups who are really active, river cleans. There's a lot of stuff going on. Patrick's obviously stepped away now from Brina Henley, and we've recently conducted a strategic review, which we're going to be announcing the results of in the new year. But just in a nutshell there, what we're really looking to do now with Brina Henley is really ramp it up. Our purpose is to be working towards creating a livable future for people and planet. And how we do that is by bringing the community together in order to take action on climate and nature. So we really now have this vision of really ramping things up. You may have seen this week the coverage of COP28 on the news. I hope you have. And you may have heard King Charles calling for transformational action. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN, has recently said that our world needs climate action on all fronts, everything, everywhere, all at once. This does include Henley, and in fact there are strong arguments that a town like Henley should be leading the way, as we have the potential to do, given our strong community, all of the expertise we have within our community. And our town, of course, but we are a wealthy town. And given the UK's role in historical emissions, being one of the highest emitters since the Industrial Revolution, it is important that we do model this change and lead the way for those following. So if we are serious as a town, as a council, about tackling the issue, given the declaration of climate emergency, we do need to have that backed up with financial support if we are going to ramp up activity. I just wanted to remind you that we are a volunteer group. We are a small handful of active members, although we have a lot of people involved across our umbrella, but the active members are less than 10, and we all have families and jobs. So in order to ramp up our activities, we are going to need to call for extra support. You've seen in the application that we are looking for project management support and farm support in particular. I understand that there's a potential concern about, a concern about potential crossover between the climate emergency working group on one hand and Greener Henley on the other. And whilst I do appreciate that we do have to avoid exact duplication of work, see that would be crazy for us to be exactly duplicated. And that necessitates strong communication between Greener Henley and the climate emergency working group to ensure that does not happen, which we do have. I do argue that it's vitally important that we do have both Greener Henley and the climate emergency working group working towards this end together in a complementary way. I think that both organisations hold a different position in the community. We speak with a different voice. We can influence in different ways. To extend Antonio Guterres' quote, we need everyone pitching in all at once in a coordinated, complementary way. Our community will need, I'm afraid, to brace for what is coming in the form of violent weather events, floods, shocks to our community, local economy, food supply issues, and in due course, potentially security issues. But if we come together as a community and work together to mitigate the worst effects of this emergency and adapt our community in the face of it, we can weather the storm. We have a vision to establish a permanent physical presence in the town in the form of a centrally located climate emergency centre, which is not part of our application. This is something for the future. And we hope at some point in the future that the council might consider how you might facilitate that for us. I would ask you to all consider our grant application in light of all of this, and I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm here for any questions should you need to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Are there any questions for either of the Green and Michelle?
Thank you very much, Kate. My question for you this evening is, you're clearly moving from, like a voluntary organisation into like a hybrid model, I would say. Perhaps, I don't know if I'm describing it the same way, because you're moving to, some kind of paid employment. What are Greener Henley doing to make sure that you become self-sufficient, self-funding, in the medium to long term?
Well, we are looking currently for a fundraiser, and there are increasingly pots of money around for this community action. This community action is completely a part of what needs to happen within the UK and around the world. The change needs to be coming not just from local government and national government and international organisations as well, but it needs to be coming from communities, grassroots up from communities. All of that needs to happen at the same time. So I think that is being recognised, and there are increasingly pots of money that are available from different councils, but also organisations like the Climate Coalition who have pots of money, and Wild Isles Community Fund and things like that. We need somebody to be scanning that constantly and tapping into these pots of money for us.
So how's that recruitment going?
It is starting now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Green Henley?
Yeah, great presentation. Thank you very much. Is the hourly rate to fund someone that's already within the organisation, or to fund an external contractor or a specialist in these individual areas, or is it someone that's already within the group?
The project management, there is a lady who is an excellent project manager who did it for a voluntary basis for a schools event that we recently organised that Kenny came to. We had 17 schools and 84 individuals who came to that event, and it was a really fantastic event. We're helping schools to get their climate action plans together. This lady helped us to project manage that event, and she can't do that continually on a voluntary basis. She has a job, it's her job to do that. So I would love her to do that. There is a lady internally who provides communications to us on a voluntary basis, but we need to ask her to ramp up her hours, and she doesn't have the capacity to do that. So rather than her looking for a job externally, I would like to pay her to do more hours. That's Julia Samuel-Adams. There are obviously issues that we need to iron out around IR35 and employment a year, which we're looking into. The ideal scenario would be that we subcontract this work to people rather than taking them on as employees. We are currently just an incorporated community organisation, and we would seek to avoid becoming a charitable incorporated organisation because of the extra burden, administrative burden. But that's something that we need to look into.
Councillor
Yeah.
Gibbon, let's try with one.
Thank you, Kate, for your presentation. I have some concerns, so I'll trot out the questions straight away. Firstly, £20,000 is an awful lot of money for admin support. I'll ask this question. If you were to come along to us for £5,000 for a particular project to actually get things going, and the project was clearly defined with goals and outcomes, it may well be another one of the schools projects. I would be comfortable, but I'm not comfortable about the full amount by any means of £20,000. It just seems to be an awful lot of admin money, whereas I fully respected Greener Henley in the past and will do in the future, because they actually were volunteers and they actually got on and did stuff. My second question is, in your application, you have not applied to any other organisations for grants. That's in the application.
Yeah.
So I wonder if I could, I suppose my third question would be, so there's a lot.
Yeah.
The third one is, I really think that you have got to work more closely with the Climate Emergency Working Group, because we already have shed loads of admin support in that.
Let me try and answer
Sorry.
those questions.
Sorry.
So I'll
Thank
take the last question first, if that's okay.
Please, thank you.
So, I am on the Climate Emergency Working Group.
Yep.
And there are some crossover basically between the Climate Emergency Working Group and Green and Henley, which is fantastic. And I'm working very closely with Rebecca.
And I agree with you on your differentiation as well. That
Yeah.
Green
So-
Henley does a different job. Yes.
You are absolutely right that the two organisations need to work very closely together, so I completely agree there. In relation to your concern about the level of money, and I'm very mindful here that all these organisations are fantastic organisations, and it's a very difficult decision. They all play a very important role in the community. I think it's being rather disingenuous to say £20,000 for admin. What we're looking for here is expert sustainability and common support, which is a valuable level of support, and there's a lot of expertise in it, and an expert level of project management support. If we are going to put these events on to the quality and the standard that we need to have that level of support. But I just want to just explain about the common support. We're not selling anything. We are putting out a message. That's effectively what we're doing. So we are all about, in my mind, we're all about our communications. And the communication is absolutely critical if we are going to encourage people to affect behavioural change. And it's highly specialised. So it's not just somebody, filling in a few spreadsheets and doing some data entry. It is, it does require expertise. And on £20,000, that is, of course, the total amount, but there are discrete projects in there, and it all does add up. I don't know if I've answered your questions there, Stefan.
That
Well,
was fine.
thank you for what you said.
Right, I'm going to try and move on now. I think the next one is the Kenton Theatre turnover. Yes, Kenton Theatre. We'd like to speak on the Kenton Theatre, please.
Dennis Oliver. I'm a trustee of the Kenton Theatre. I think we know each other, and I think we understand that the theatre's been in some financial difficulties of late, and that because of your good offices, we're still around and we survive. You've given us a breathing space to try and improve matters. The theatre coming out of COVID was in some difficulty. It was closed for 2 years, and in the last couple of years has made losses. We are having to look very carefully at all aspects of the way the theatre operates. We want the theatre to survive. We think it's an important part of our community, and we support a number of community groups within and around the town. We're looking at all aspects of revenue generation, things that were probably not looked at in sufficient detail in the past, funding from donations, grants, all sorts of aspects. And we're also looking at the profitability of the basic business. And the truth is that the revenue and the surplus that we get from shows is inadequate in its own way to support that theatre as it's being run. In particular, we support over 20 local community groups, schools, amateur dramatic societies, dance schools, etc. And the way in which we do that is by giving them a 50% discount on the hire fee of the theatre. In the last year that we've done the analysis, we hired out to what we would call community groups 97 days at a 50% discount on the hire rate. So if I compare the hire rate, the standard hire rate to third parties and with what we actually charge the local community groups, it costs the theatre £49,000. And we don't want to take that discount away from them. I mean, we've given them a commitment that that discount will remain in place for at least another 12 months. And what we are doing is asking you to help us, to help them, and the theatre continue to thrive in the coming period. I believe that we basically asked for it for a period of 3 years. So we're asking you, I think, for 20,000 to cover off part of that deficit, if you like, that the theatre is currently experiencing.
Thank you. Just to clarify, you said you're asking 20,000. That's for 20,000 for each of the next 3 years. That's
Yes.
60,000 in all. Just to be clear.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you meant that, but just in case anyone misunderstood.
Can I ask in case? Yeah.
I do have one question as well. You have a list of these subsidies that you do provide that you mentioned, and you mentioned the figure before to me. I've been involved in this discussion with the loan over the last few months that we did earlier. But the subsidy varies for the different organisations which are listed in the appendix on page 127. Why does it vary so widely between different organisations?
I'm not sure I can answer that. Can I ask Lottie to?
I'm happy for Lottie to answer. Yes.
That depends on the duration of the run. So for a group that would hire the theatre for the week, there is going to be a bigger discount for the week, and there would be if it's like 1 or 2 days. It was just the way that our tariffs kind of set.
Yeah, I mean the lowest subsidy is £60 for a 1-day event, and the highest is 6,700 for a 9-day event. That's not pro rata. Is there a particular reason why you do that?
Some of them, I mean the ones, I think the example you're giving is probably for Henley Literary Fest, but
That's true, which is always going to be a bit anomalous.
That is a historic arrangement.
Right.
So they do end up with the most significant discount, like whether right or wrong, that's kind of how it's been. We're kind of talking to them about next year's fee with them, but that is just something that was arranged before, I guess, for the last couple of years. But so that, yeah, they should be paying more essentially because they're over a 10-day run rather than a week.
Okay.
So some of the, historic ones.
I think that, Ian, that all predates the present management.
Yeah.
We're going to have to look at all of those arrangements and the contractual arrangements we have with the various bonds.
Some were encouraged back, I think, with lower, unrealistic, lower rates.
Yeah. So I know you say you negotiate them all individually, the commercial ones and the local community ones. They vary how you price your
Not now. I'm finding I've changed the approach to that it's made it fair across all groups.
Yes, okay.
So apart from the ones that haven't been changed, they are all paying the same amount now. So any new contract, any new show that comes in and all the community groups are aware, we'd be very transparent with the pricing now.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Captain, I think see something there. Councillor Thomas, then Councillor Gowshaw.
So my question for you is the same as I had for Greener Henley. How are you trying to, how can you make sure that this situation doesn't come up again in 3 years' time? How are you working towards becoming sustainable? Because the issue that the town council has is that we've helped you out with a big loan, and now you're asking us to help with the community fund. And also we have the people on your list coming to us for help to cover the 50% cost. So it's hitting the town council in 3 different ways.
Well, as I said earlier, we're looking at all of our revenue streams as to how we can improve them. We're looking to try and improve the profitability of shows themselves. In the same way that Ian highlighted the various different arrangements with community groups, we have a whole raft of arrangements with outside production companies. And we're in the process now of looking at those. And looking at, because the outside production companies tend to come on a revenue split. They don't hire the hall, they come with a revenue split. And that ranges from a 70-30 up to an 80-20 or even a 90-10. And we're looking at all those contractual arrangements. We're looking at how we can, with marketing, get more people in the theatre. Because if we can get a full theatre, then the return to both the third party and ourselves is better. So we're looking at improving our marketing of the theatre and the shows that go on. We're looking at outside funding from donations from people. We've already been reasonably successful trying to get donations for specific projects within the theatre. That theatre is what, over 200 years old. We're not just there to provide, if you like, entertainment for the community. We also have a building that we have to look after. And the repairs and maintenance of that building in the last few years has not really been good enough. So we're looking for third-party funding for things like the stage, which we just replaced. We need to weatherproof the building. You know, Kate's talking about climate emergency. That building is not weatherproof in many places. And that's got to be sorted. And we're looking for third-party funding to pay for that. So we're looking at all aspects of revenue income.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go for it. You next.
Sorry, can I just
Oh,
build on?
sorry. Oh, sorry.
Hi, sorry. I'm Tara McLeod and I'm the chair of Kempton. Very good question. And yes, we're very grateful to Henley Town Council that you say you helped us out with a loan. It is a loan. You haven't given us any money. We are paying for it at 5.61% per annum. You did give us a grace period of 2 years.
I'm
We
aware
are
of
having to
this,
pay it.
yes.
Just to be clear, it's not a gift. It is something, it is a contractual arrangement. So we are asking for something quite different at the moment. You asked how will we get out of this? You know, honestly, we are trying very, very hard. And so we're looking at all our financial controls. There have been no financial controls to a large extent. We're looking at all our programming to make sure that we actually put in shows that do make money and do serve the community at the same time. We're desperately trying to protect our community players. And that's why we're asking for this particular loan at the moment. But going forward, we have to create new business streams, which all of us and our trustees are trying desperately to do. We're in a very limited footprint, and we're trying to figure out new sort of, I suppose, more intellectual ways of doing it. But we're like swans, really. We're gliding along the top, and they're having no breaks underneath the floor, I would say. And we have been doing this for 4 months now. Martin's just a little bit ahead of us.
9 months.
About 9 months, but the rest of us are 4 months in, and really due to your good graces and allowing us to borrow money from you, we have kept the lights on. But it's still, we're not out of the water yet by any stretch of the imagination, but we do feel fundamentally committed to having a community asset within Henley. It is brilliant. It is a brilliant theatre. It needs a bit more help, but we will get there. I can assure you, we are very, very focused on what we're doing. We're very committed focused for the first time, I think, in ages. And yeah, we just need a bit more support anytime.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony. Councillor Gavin, you were going to ask.
Well, Carla, I should congratulate you because that's the first time that Dennis has been referred to as a swan in my considerable experience. Right, serious question. On page 127, you list the organisations that you are subsidising, let's put it like that. And the total, I'm just going to talk about the total, not the individual. The total subsidy is 48 grand. You are asking Henley Town Council for 20 grand. How are you going to plug the 28 grand that you still need to find? What mechanisms are you doing for that?
Well, with
Yes.
your help, we're going to try out and see if we can get something from SODC. I've been in contact with Maggie Filipova Rivers, who I believe is heading up a strategy working group to look at art and culture in the county. And she has agreed to come over to Henley in January. We're going to get her to visit the theatre and discuss the issues that a small community theatre like Henley experiences. And that there are other theatres of a similar type in the county that also don't get much help. And I'm not, well, I'm going to have to tread carefully, I guess, with respect to the theatre in Didcot and the subsidy that it receives. But we're looking to SODC to come and help come to the party as well.
And are there any other things that you're doing?
Well, yes, we're looking at fundraising in a whole raft of ways.
Yeah.
We're looking at high wealth.
Give me a couple of examples, that's all. And then stop.
Well, we've raised 20,000 in the last 2 months from high wealth individuals in the locality. We're looking at sponsorship, and we're in conversation with a number of organisations about sponsoring the bar facility that we have at front of house, that kind of thing. We're in the process of making grant applications to help fund specific building projects. For example, we are desperately short of office space in our theatre. We have a room that.
Okay, Dennis, fine, I'm going to stop you there. You've answered my question.
Yeah, well,
You've got a few strands going on.
Indeed.
Fine,
I'm
thank
going
you.
to try and wrap this up now. Are there any final questions? Right, okay. Oh, we still have, I think the Henley Hawks Netball Club. Is anyone here from Henley Hawks Netball Club? No, looks like there isn't. Okay, so that's the end of public participation. Thank you very much for everyone who presented. They were all really good and impressive. I'm glad you came along, and it shows, you know, a number of good things. By no means all the things that happen in the town, and that the opportunity that we have here to help all the different organisations who do very different things. Now, the actual consideration of the larger grants is item 8 on the agenda, and so with the permission of the meeting, I'd like to bring that forward to so we consider those applications now. Everyone happy with that? Okay. In that case, so I'd like to start the list of introduce this on page 48 of the agenda is a list of the current grants, and for clarity, the 7 applications down near the bottom are the ones that we are considering here. There are 4 which have had 3 years and are now wanting to renew for another 3 years. And there are 3 new applications from Greener Henley, the Kenton and Henley Hawks, which will be in addition to those. Now, the total of those 3 is £93,188. And we have a budget of 58,200. So we have delegated powers to award up to that 58,200. We don't beyond that, and we shouldn't go beyond our budget, but we can make a recommendation to full council to do that. 10 o'clock's is not in, so I've got that right. Madam Mayor.
Question of just clarity on that sheet at the bottom, it says Kenton Theatre full grant application 40 for 20,000 for 3 years.
Yeah, that should be 60.
It should be 60.
Yeah,
Okay.
as I mentioned earlier. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Ian. I note in the table above where it shows the 58,200, and I believe that includes the amounts that have already been paid out to Riverside Counselling, Baptist Church, Ribbon Road, and Be Free Young Carers. Does that mean if we were to approve these renewal requests, they would be paid in April, part of next year's budget, or would they be paid again this year and therefore fall into this year's budget?
So this is for next year's budget.
Yeah,
So the 58,200 is for next.
So it's for next year's budget, thank
Yeah.
you.
So what we've done is we are showing on that table, the one which is the column called budget 24-25.
Yep.
Is showing 8,600, 1,500 and 1,500. Those are grants that we will be giving next year. Paying is the year 3.
Yep.
And then what is available in comparison to the budget of 69,800 is 58,200. So the grants that have been presented today, there's 58,200, and also I've actually added a comment saying that there are 12,200 available as well for this year, on this year's budget.
Okay, lovely, thank you very much.
okay, right, so we've got 12,000 left under.
Yes.
So in reality, we actually, sorry, I'll come on to you, but in reality, we actually have 70,400, is that right?
Yes, but the 12,200 is for this year. And
Yeah.
yes, and looking at the amounts for the grants, the grant applicants, some of them, they come up, they are for 3 years. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I always did read as that.
Councillor
Red is highly
Can we discuss all of them? It's a shame that nobody from Henley Hawks Netball is here, and I do plan to go down and seeing them soon. I've been in communication with them, but I haven't made it yet. I noticed the date of the application was the 25th of March, and not more recently, like some of the other applications. And when I was reading through it, I could see that the description of where they're playing seems to be different to my knowledge of where they're playing, and the people that were the key people in the application seem to be different key people that I'm speaking to now. So I'm concerned that there's sort of, has there been any recent communication with this applicant? And are they still actually, is it still an active a need? Because it says here they need to be installed in the summer.
Yes, Juliet mentioned it's laid up in bed. I spoke to her earlier today about some polling. She's the treasurer, and then Nikki Stubbs. There has been a slight split of the Henley Hawks and now got another team, Mavericks, who are a mixed team. That's been the only subset. So now the mixed team, the men's team now plays somewhere else, and Henley Hawks, as I think, we've got 2 netball clubs in town as of the last 2 months, but they still very much need.
And this is the Henley Hawks that are at Henley, as part of Henley Rugby Club.
Yeah, and play at Bruce House and that as well. British.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I did actually contacted them last week, because actually we had missed out on that one. Because it was locked in March, and later on there was some communication in June. So I contacted them last week, Nikki Stubbs, and she did say that yes, they were happy for the grant to be submitted. We did say that if you can come here and actually speak for the grant, that will be more of value, because the grant was submitted it was signed in March. One update that she gave me was that they've received £1,000 towards the lights from South Vale. So they have actually been submitting grant applications since March, and they've got £1,000. So that's an update.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so what we usually do, and I suggest we stick to the procedure, is we go through each of those in turn and give it initial views, and then we have a second pass through the 7 applicants, and make proposals on what we wish to award. So I'd like to start off on the young carers who've applied for 20,000 over 3 years, which is 6,600 over just. Councillor Thomas.
Well, I thank you so much for your application. I'm fully supportive of, hello. Sorry. I'm fully supportive of your application. It's such a valuable resource. Be Free Young Carers, I think you come across as in the written word and your spoken word as a really well-run organisation, and I think the work that you want to cover in Henley as well. I had no idea that Henley wasn't covered at all, so I'm fully supportive of this application, and thank you for bringing it for our attention consideration.
Councillor Gertrude.
I won't repeat what Michelle said, but you do brilliant work throughout Oxfordshire, I know, and yes, please come to Henley and carry on with your work. It's such a valuable resource, and I will be suggesting that we fulfil the full amount. Yes.
That's it.
I am really supportive. I can even remember one year councillor Arlett and I doubling the grant that they'd even asked for. I think it was £500 that year.
Yeah.
I am slightly concerned that the work you do is fantastic all over the district. I am just concerned that we are many years into giving you grants, yet we are yet to see any real evidence of work in Henley itself. So whilst I am supportive of this, I was really hoping that Councillor Thomas's question would be answered in a little more detail specific to Henley. Because whilst as a district councillor, I appreciate money that's all over the district and people being helped. As a town council, which I am sat here right now, my focus is on making sure that we spend our public money on helping the people of Henley, and that there are other councils that can support the other children in the district. So I am supportive of the organisation. I will support the money going to it. But when you return next year and the year after, I would like to see more evidence-based information about who is being helped in Henley, not necessarily obviously personal detail, I mean numbers. And I'd like it to be real numbers, not estimates, and not goals. I want them to be achievements.
Yeah, that's I think you made an excellent point there, which is that it's important that the money that we give, which is from Henley council taxpayers and residents, that it benefits the residents and their immediate families themselves. And you have a permanent invitation to come along, present to us what you're doing generally, but specifically in Henley as well. Yeah. And as Kath Hinton has suggested, perhaps doing that in a year's time.
Yeah, I'd love to come back and show you the impact.
Yeah. Great. That would be really good. We mentioned it to the CAB recently. They came and gave a very good presentation a few weeks ago as a result of this sort of interchange. So yeah, you'd be very welcome. We'd love to hear what you do, and yeah, I'm sure it'll be a very good presentation.
If I may add just one thing, by comparison, I don't see Didcot Town Council, who have 33,000 people in the town, on here as a donator. I do see, however, Wallingford Town Council have given £250. Wallingford Town Council is Wallingford's a town of about 11,500 people, which is similar to Henley. And they have a secondary school and they have the primary schools as well. So they have, I'd say, probably the similar estimate as Henley. Yet they've obviously secured £150 and we're looking at 20,000 over 3 years. So that's a very huge difference for two very similar towns in the same district. And that's why I'm just saying I'd like to see a little bit of a balance there, because I don't want Henley Town Council to be subsidising for other town councils where they should be paying for their children as well.
Yeah, I think that point's also very good. Anything else on Be Free Go Carers? We move on to the Henley Baptist Church. So they're asking for 5,000 for each of the next 3 years. Any comments on that? Councillor Caversham.
Yeah, I would fully support this. We looked at the Henley Baptist Church is detailed in the column below, but it used to be called Family Centre Baptist Church in the previous line. Got to bear in mind that there was a family centre at the Baptist Church based that was in fact paid for by Oxfordshire County Council, and they removed the funding for it, and it was given to an external organisation, and the Baptist Church picked up this baby and they ran with it very, very successfully, and it was touch and go whether it was going to go ahead or not at that particular time. So again, yes, I think it's local, it's based here. We trust the people to deliver, and therefore it's a good investment in Henley Town. Thank you. So
yeah, I'm just going to contribute. I remember back in 2011 when when the Sure Start centres were abolished, which is how it originally came about in the 2000s, and the Sure Start Centre was really good, and it was very sad that not only the one in Henley was lost, but they were lost across the country. And we're fortunate here in Henley, and that the gap has been filled. And I've had nothing but praise for the service that's provided there. So yeah, I think it's this is an excellent application. Anything else? Okay, so River and Row Museum have asked for 20,000 for each of the next 3 years, and you will need to say farewell to Rory.
I'm not going to leave because I haven't even attended the meeting yet as mayor, so I'm not going to leave. Do I have to really?
Technically, it is an other registrable interest under the new code of conduct.
Oh, goodness sake, then I'll declare it. Go and play my game on my phone.
I disagree with it as well.
Yeah.
We look forward to having you back in the next. Okay. Right, your protest has been noted.
She's still contributing from down the corridor.
Outside.
Councillor Platt, did you have any?
Yeah, we've got a long-standing relationship since its inception, supporting the River and Row Museum and the good work it does. Obviously, we've all been heavily involved in the changes that have taken place in the last year. Wishing them all the best as they put those to fruition. We've put to them many questions that we've put to the Kenton Theatre tonight on what they're going to do to change their situation, become more profitable going forward. I support it, but I must say I don't support it to the full amount of the application. Might support something that we've done in previous years around the 15 mark, given that, but I don't think, given our own finances currently, we have the spare to increase by the 1/3 what they want. So minded to support it, but not the full amount, but we can come back to that in the next round.
Yes, Tom.
So a couple of points from me. I'm very disappointed that there's nobody here from the River and Row Museum here this evening. For the amount that they've asked, you'd think that they'd be able to stump up somebody from the, the members of staff that they've got there. So I'm really, really not impressed at all. The other point I would like to make is they did actually annex like basically half of the museum for for commercial use, and I wanted to ask them specifically how that was actually going. Can any councillors enlighten me? Are you able to tell me if they've been successful with that part of their expansion?
One office occupied.
Why?
There's another 4 or 5 still on to let.
Because I'm not happy to agree any of this until I know the answer to that. Because that is supposed to be a really significant revenue stream for them.
I'm going to leave you speak first, Councillor.
Well, I'm tempted to agree with Michelle on this particular one, but I think there agree with Lawrence that certainly increasing it by anything more than 15. But if the commercial activities are being successful, then we need to question them to actually say whether in fact this grant should be reduced or not. So I would suggest that we pause on this, on the discussion of the amount, definitely until Steve can come along and explain to us. It may well cause us complications at the end of the list, but let's tackle that in a bit.
Actually, well, firstly, we do need to be careful that we don't exhaust our allocated budget without considerable thought. I share the concerns that have been expressed, and we do in these circumstances where we do think we require more information or we have concerns that need to be addressed, we can defer consideration and simply make it note the application. And ask to request a meeting with them, and then at full council, where the minutes of this meeting are received, we can then decide whether or not we wish to make it award or not. But we can leave it as defer for now. That's perfectly normal procedure for us to do. And I think that's perfectly correct. Where we don't have the information, I think it's important that we reserve it until we do.
Just got to be careful at the end of the list that we've got enough money left to allocate or not allocate at the case.
We should bear that in mind.
So we just got to bear that in mind. Yes,
Agreed.
that's all.
Just one thing, we did ask them for the year and for their accounts, but they've not been signed off yet. And they are expecting to have them for the 15th of December, so it might help you with your.
Well,
and the extra
not
information.
really, because they've been closed for such a long time that, it's kind of,
They're not going to be a typical year, are they?
No.
They've been closed for
having
8,
the
9
pandemic
months.
as well, so.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
and in principle, I think the River and Road Museum is an important part of the town. That it's a key facility. It's one of the attractions. I do regret that the Henley portion of the museum is still lower profile and has less space than I think I'd like to see it as a Henley resident. And so I have concerns of that sort as well. But we have raised these with them before.
We've had extensive discussions and shows and insight into that museum dish. I respect your point, but I think of all the organisations around town, I feel like I know more of the Rimmer Museum in the last 12 months than I've ever known of it before, and I think their application is exemplary. I'm happy to await further information. Steve will no doubt come and do it. But I think the plan is what we all know the plan to be, much like the Kenton has reiterated tonight. Over the next 5 years, they're going to try and become as commercially viable as possible.
Well, we could pencil in 15,
Yep.
but we need the further information.
Couldn't agree more.
But pencil it in at the moment so that we.
Yeah, okay.
So we don't.
My feeling would be that we might need to reduce it to 10, given the financial constraints that we are operating under.
Okay.
Oh, yes, let's just bring it back in.
That's definitely, it's okay, I've let you know.
Right.
Did you Snapchat, Kelly?
Okay, Green Hen, we have an application. We have an application for 20,000 Green Hen, which again is quite a large one. Who'd like to comment on this first?
Why are you looking at me? I'll wait until you.
Well, you've had to be silenced for the last 5 minutes. I think you're bursting with things to say. Who would like to speak on the Green Hen? Councillor Gensler.
Well, I will. Well, I asked the questions earlier that I think £20,000 is too much. I would be happy in a way to trial it with about £5,000 for a particular project. But I would need evidence that as to the planning of the project, what is going to be achieved, in other words, smart targets, what are the outcomes going to be. But I would absolutely not be happy for a 20,000 lump to go over. So I would be looking for a project with penciled in money of £5,000 for this year, and then next year, when we've got the evidence of the project and it working through, etc., 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 then it could well be that we could increase it next year. But I think it's got to be proved first. This is a step change for Greener Henley. Patrick did fantastic work with Greener Henley. Yes, on no money at all for admin, on a shoestring. And Kate quite rightly says that if they want to build their profile, they do need professional expertise, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. But I think that a small amount on a specific project is the way to go at the moment, especially as we are tight on money. So that's my tip anyway.
Yeah, before I come to you, I just realised that I skipped out the Riverside Counselling Service. Nothing personal. I'll come back to you after we've done Greener Henley. I just my eyes obviously let me down. Councillor Blanchard, you want to talk?
No, I must admit,
Greener
the
Henley.
presentation is brilliant and it's a brilliant cause. I don't question any of that. I feel very uneasy, like happily put some money towards a specific project, but I mean, I feel incredibly uncomfortable putting any money towards hours given. I mean, Henley is made up of brilliant organisations, fully based off of volunteers. Patrick is a brilliant one, Tony Hoskins. I mean, the number of organisations that we work with, you know, the Chiltern Centre, that it's all volunteer based. You know, the summers we're looking at here is a £73,000 a year salary based on that hourly rate. It's, you know, it's like, yeah, it's an incredible organisation and it's really heartworthy, but you know, look at the hours that all of us give up as individuals to do the tasks that we do, to name just one organisation. So happily put money towards a very specific project and the costing towards said project, like we do for all the organisations we do, but to pay for hours of work, I feel incredibly uneasy, and it will raise a huge number of issues with employment, IR35 tax, and a number of things.
Councillor Hinton, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so I think it was very unfair to call it admin support because there's a lot of expertise here. In fact, in this grant application, which is one of the most detailed that we've received tonight, it's not just one specific project, but sort of 7 specific areas in which this money would go to funding in particular in great detail, in more detail than I think actually any of the others relevant very much to Henley. So I'm quite surprised by this lack of knowledge because it's very clearly written on this 233-page agenda. We do have a climate emergency working group with a different remit to Greener Henley. Greener Henley has transformed over the years. If any of the councillors here had gone to the AGM last week, they would have sort of seen this progression of from Henley in transition when I first became a councillor, right up until, you know, Greener Henley now, and Patrick Fleming moving on, and all of the things that they're looking for the future. It was a very organised AGM with workshops where everyone was brainstorming. They're very strategic. They've got a very clear vision going forward. In order to carry out that vision, that definitely is going to need some funding. This is expertise. It's not people that can just go and do a little bit on social media or type in a bit of admin on a spreadsheet. These are people that need specific expertise in not necessarily just project management, but the environment and everything else. It's like I said, it's very detailed there already. I did note, I can't remember who said that there was, we were the only people that have been asked for a grant, and actually as the town council, when Greener Henley are looking to really step up this in light of the climate emergency that we ourselves have declared, it's absolutely right that they come to the town council first. I can't imagine that many outside funders would be willing to support something like Greener Henley, very specific to Henley, although much further reaching afield. Without the support of the town council, it's absolutely right that they come to us first. I think that makes complete sense to me. Also, they do have a huge amount of volunteers in terms of like the wildlife, you know, everyone that goes and helps out with that. The people that turned up to the AGM, but the core group is 7 people. And other charities were mentioned, and it said, you know, we have over 200 different community groups and charities in this town, of which Greener Henley is one. Most of those have paid support. So someone mentioned the Chiltern Centre just now. They have a paid fundraiser, they have a paid admin, they have a paid manager, and that enables them to do the huge amount of fundraising that they're able to do. Other local organisations that you might think are entirely voluntary but are not, including Henley Youth Festival, Henley Education Trust, Henley Municipal Charities, a lot of them have paid admin. It might be 15 hours a week just organising the meetings. It might be something that's more expertise, but it's something that is definitely needed in several, if not most, of our local community groups and charities. And Henley in Transition, which turned into Greener Henley, has worked for decades now in this town, building to this point where they're actually able to. They've got the volunteer force on side. They just need that extra help. So I do think that we should be supporting this. I do think it should have as much priority as anything else that's been requested tonight, if not more priority, in line with the decisions that we've already made and what we've declared and what we've acknowledged as a town council and as a town. And if anything, I wouldn't be looking to reduce the amount. I wouldn't be looking to increase it either. I do think that there are other areas of the town council where budgeting for this may be more helpful than, say, here, where we've got an overstretched budget. There is areas of this that could be funded, for example, by Henley and Bloom. There are areas of this that could be funded, for example, by the Climate Emergency Working Group. An example of this, where we've had a grant given and then awarded from a different committee, would be the grant that we give Nomad. We give under the large grants £10,000, but also Town and Community are looking to, and previously Recreation and Amenities, have awarded £5,000 a year specifically for youth outreach work. So it's something we've already set a precedent for as well. So I've spoken at length actually, and I think I've done that because I know that there were quite a few concerns, but I think there was a lot of misinformation as well. So I hope that I've managed to correct some of that at least, and draw your attention to the huge volume of work that is very detailed here. And I don't know how anyone could possibly read the pages there and then say that it's not evidence-based. The recent school event that myself and Councillor Thomas went to, for example, was 18 schools. I don't know the last time that this town council or the Climate Emergency Group or any other organisation managed to get 18 schools together. And that is because the government have said that the schools need a plan in place by 2025 and a sustainability lead. And this is the kind of thing that Greener Henley are facilitating and supporting. And to think that we are asking them and saying, well, actually, no, you should be doing that for free because other people in Henley, you know, they've got more volunteers as well. I just think that's really not very supportive based on our climate emergency. So that's all I'm saying.
Thank you. I'm a member of the Climate Emergency Working Group, and in fact, I was a founder member of Henley in Transition as well. A long time ago, back in the days when that's who they were, and I'm a member of those because everything that Kate said about the threat that climate change poses to us and the nature emergency as well is something that I take very seriously, and we all should. And I think we all know the arguments behind it now, and they are accepted. It isn't a matter for debate anymore. It's about what is happening. The only matter of debate is what we do and how we do it and how we fund it. And so my instincts when I was aware of this application were right behind it. I have to congratulate Councillor Hinton for putting it so succinctly and so correctly, and so expressing the importance of doing this quite so clearly. And so, in principle, I certainly support the application, the work that the Greener Henley do, which is they're an excellent local organisation. I understand some of the concern. 20,000 is a large amount to find, and so it might be that we take a couple of these projects, which clearly belong in Greener Henley, I think, as opposed to the Climate Emergency Working Group. And what can happen at the next meeting, the Climate Emergency Working Group, to be looking at its terms of reference, the scope of its work, and a natural debate will take place about what happens in the Climate Emergency Working Group, which is past the town council, and what happens in Greener Henley. And I think that there is most definitely room for both, and I think they can and will operate in a complementary way. There are several people who are involved in both organisations. So one possibility would be to fund the schools work, to do that, which I think, as Councillor Hinton singled out, that was a particularly effective piece of outreach work, but also the Big Green Week, which I think is just amazingly good. I've never felt impressed by that. So we could fund those two, and as suggested, see how it goes, which is what I think Councillor Gaveshat was saying, and then review that in the course of the next year, what it is that we want to fund. It may be that Climate Emergency Working Group can provide some funding for specific projects and make recommendations to this council that we do that over the next 12 months. Yeah. So that's my take on it. Yeah. Anyone else like to contribute?
No, it's great.
Okay, let's move on. Right, so I missed out the Riverside Counselling Service. I do apologise. Wasn't that I didn't want to hear from councillors about their views on them. And so who'd like to speak on the Riverside Counselling Service?
Thank you so much. Do you
Councillor Thomas.
want to go first, Richard?
Oh,
I'm hogging.
No, Michelle, you
Okay,
kick off.
well, listen, I mean, I'm going to say the same as I have for about Be Free Young Carers. I think it's essential. The work that you do is absolutely essential. And thank you for such a great presentation and such a great written proposal as well. I'm not sure we can go to the full 24,000, but I'd love this council to do as much as it can for you. I'm one of my hats, you know, when I was mayor was working with Henley Educational Trust, and I've been very lucky to continue working with them. And I've seen how much mental health is important in the schools as well, and how much you do within there. Goodness me, thank you for all you do. All the volunteers, you know, you're professional people, that you know, you're generous with your time. You could be earning a lot more money than you do, but you choose to do what you do. You know, for the people that aren't able to access that kind of, and we all know that the NHS is absent in this area. So you plug a void, you know, that gap that shouldn't exist. So, yeah, I'd just like to do as much as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Gilshan.
Well, I am on this particular occasion going to argue for the full amount of £8,000. I really think that Riverside Counselling are absolutely brilliant. And the reason why is because, and I know from my county councillor role on case says, a person in Henley goes to the GP and says, I need some counselling. And the GP says, well, if you go to the OCC organisations, we can see you in about 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, that person could be dead or could be severely compromised. The person, irrespective of income, can go to the Riverside Counselling and get immediate help. And that's the important thing. They get immediate help, and if they can afford to pay X amount, they do. If they can't afford, it's a contribution, small contribution. So Riverside Counselling has been around for years and years and years and years, and they do fantastic work. One of the questions I didn't ask is where you hold your sessions. Is it still on the Fair Mile in the Quaker House, or
It is, yes.
it is there?
That's not-
So this is one of the things that we must fully support, in my opinion.
Okay, anyone else like to speak? I just see it. I've heard presentations by you before when you applied for grants, and I'd like to praise the work you do and the importance of it. I'm sure we all do. It's just a matter of we're going to have to make some hard decisions next time round. Councillor Hinton.
They could save £83,000 a year if they got volunteers to do their admin work.
Well, yeah, yeah. Your point was a valid one. No, I must have.
Just saying.
It's.
But no, I'm very supportive of Riverside Council, and
I'm
absolutely.
sure. That wasn't the point.
It's just a little-
Okay.
It depends how you interpret.
Right, Kenton Theatre. Want to say anything?
No, I think valid point well made. It's a key differentiation between a loan and a grant. You know, we haven't given them a grant in the loan we've given them so far. I do think, you know, giving a loan with an interest rate is one thing. You know, we do support it. We supported this facility. It is really tough though, like Councillor Thomas said, when plenty of organisations come to us for smaller grants, and most of what they want their smaller grant for is to pay the higher fees. And yet us contributing towards their hard fees still leaves them in a £48,000 deficit after that. So you sort of plug a tiny cork in a huge great hole. You know, taking that, I don't think it should be that just because we've given a loan, we should overlook giving them some form of grant to help ease the burden. You know, the arts are an incredible part of the facility. We've all been to the pantomime, we've all been to numerous things. Kelly, myself, and I'm sure numerous others around here probably grew up doing things on the stage, and you know, and part of that theatre, even though it's living purgatory for me, but fully support it. And I don't think we have the full amount that they'd want, and you know, they've already agreed, and we already have a close working relationship, and we continue it going forward in whatever way we can to a percentage of the number in front of us.
I think the Kenton Theatre it's one of the vital organs of the town, really. The town council's one, you know, the Kenton Theatre is another one. I think that they've never come to us really for great support. First time. We support many people year after year, maybe for smaller amounts, similar amounts, but this is the first time that, you know, they've come to us, and we gave them a loan before, but as Councillor Plant says, we haven't given them any, we haven't just given them anything. And I think as a town council, we should be supporting the other key parts of our town when they need our help, and they need our help now.
Yep.
And you know, I think this should be for the 3 years actually.
Councillor Oscar, were you trying to speak?
Yes, I was. I think Kenton Theatre desperately needs our help. The question I have is whether it should be for a 3-year period. And given the fact that the speakers were talking about the actions they're taking, perhaps what we should do is look at it in terms of, say, perhaps a 2-year period, and then decide whether there's need to continue with it subsequently.
I was going to make a similar suggestion. I mean, firstly, I've been when the council came to us a few months ago as well. I was involved in discussions and was very supportive of the loan. And in principle, I'm very happy with the proposal that that's been made here. And the reason for that is that not only are we protecting and helping secure the future of the theatre itself. There's 24 local community groups who we're also helping indirectly because they are able to put on performances which are more financially viable. So it's not just one organisation; it's 25 organisations that we're helping here. I think we went into some discussion about the mechanics by which the subsidies were provided, and the distinction between a commercial organisation and the community group. And we went down a few rat holes when we were discussing that on how that's assessed. And I think that was where my question was going earlier. How is that done? And it was we decided it would be a mistake for the town council to be. We have to be very careful about public money, but as soon as we started getting into too much micromanagement of what happens in the Kensington Theatre, we realised that was a mistake. So what I'd like to do is to award the grant. I think we suggested we award the grant for a year, but review in a year's time with a view to making a full 3-year application, having seen how the system operates and how the distinction between different community groups works out. So I'm not at all pessimistic that it won't work. I think it'll work very successfully, but I think it's important we stay in contact and review carefully the way we can make sure that the money is properly accountable, transparent, and scrutinised. Yes, Thomas.
I think that gives us a really, really clear outline on the way forward for the Kensington Theatre. I'm really, really pleased to hear that you're going after SODC because far too long, you have. But honestly, far too long. Cornerstone's great, obviously a great art centre, but they've been getting way more share, the lion's share than they should have. So let's hope that meeting goes really well for you. But I mean, you're such a dedicated group of trustees, and you're steering this organisation through a really, really difficult time, and the town are really grateful to you. I think let's review it in a year. I think I'm liking this idea that we, it's. Oh, sorry, your head keeps going in the way of my. So, yeah, I think that could be a way forward. I don't know about other councillors, but we should do everything we can, and let's just review it in a year. See how your conversations have gone with SODC and with all of the other, factors that you're putting in place to try and make sure that every single pot is looked at. So good luck to you.
Okay, yeah, quickly, let's move on.
Well, I'm in agreement.
It's getting late.
I think this is a good. It's not a compromise. It's a way forward. £20,000. We'll talk to you and see how things are going. And then it does not mean that we're not going to give 20 the next year and the next year and the next year. But let's make a start on this. Thanks. And yes, it gives us an opportunity to talk to SODC as well. Yes.
Well, it keeps the council and the Kenton in contact and in communication, engaged with each other, I think, which is important. We haven't always worked closely enough, I think. And so that's why we welcomed your original approach. It's nice to be talking with you here tonight. Okay, lastly, Henley Hawks Netball Club. We haven't heard from them. Are we satisfied that it's the query about the date of the application? It is for real.
I've actually got an unusual question. Don't they need planning permission for floodlights?
I think that's
Can you answer
semi-portable.
that one?
I think that's semi-portable rights. Juliet Machin, who's the treasurer of the club, I believe, so Nikki Stubbs wrote it. I managed to briefly speak to Juliet earlier in between, and she's just laid up in bed ill, otherwise she was intending to come along. I was actually just checking whether they had charitable status in line with a few other grants and fundraising things, rather than specificities of the lights.
So that for me is a question mark that, you know, because we've had these applications come up before for floodlights. You know, when you have floodlights on the edge of an AONB conservation area, you need planning permission.
Because they've already got
They're
the lights there
portable.
to replace the lights that they're already.
They're still there, they're
using.
already there.
They're just replacing the ones, yeah, they're portable.
Okay.
It says in the details.
One thing that's sprang to my mind when I was reading through this application is that we should give an amount, not the full amount, we should give an amount towards the contribution and encourage them to go for an SODC capital grant. Because this is exactly the kind of thing that SODC love.
The update was that SODC have given them 1,000, wasn't it?
It was Southampton.
Oh, so they have already.
Yeah.
Fine.
I completely.
I don't know if it was my council grant, I can't remember. It seems familiar, but I don't know.
I don't think they will have applied for a capital grant.
It might
So
have been
the
a
answer
council
is
grant.
they should be encouraged to go for a capital grant. Because I think SODC would eat this up. And they would give them, they would give them 50% of the whole project thing. So they would get 5,000 if we give 4,000.
Yeah.
Just
4 or 5.
figure off the top of my head.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so what I'm going to do now is we'll go through each of these and we've had the sort of lengthy debate. Let's try and do this reasonably quickly, make a proposal and then vote on it in each of the cases. Just to remind me again, please, on this 58, on the 12,200 from this current year, is that something we can use for next year's grants? I'm getting cops on that.
about that one, it's available.
It's rather than putting it into next year, we could just account for it in this.
So we can.
In other words, we do have just over 70,000 available if we want to use.
But we will use the 12,200 that will be accounted for this year.
Yeah, it'll come out of next year's accounts, but we can use it for next year's as well. Okay, right. So let's be free young carers. We'd like to make a proposal. And just to be clear, it should be 6,600, not 6,600. That was a
6,600.
So 6,600 is what's actually being requested.
Okay.
But for the next year, and for each of the next 3 years. So we have a proposal from you.
Lawrence.
From Lauren, for Councillor Clark.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
Can I make an amendment that we see real evidence on who's being helped in Henley before we pay out the next tranche of the
I
grant?
think they're fully.
Yeah, so after 1 year, we'd like to come and present.
But it needs to be very specific to the numbers helped. in
Henley centric view, yes.
Yeah.
Could we do it as you were proposing for the Kenton, make it a 1 year, we review then with a view to making it.
Well, in this case, we could, yes.
No, like, just no, because I fully understand with plenty of things, the boundaries and where they come from, but this, I mean, the whole country is in a crisis.
They need the security.
The number 150 was stuck in my mind. When you think about the number of people in Henley.
They come and give us the evidence. At the end of the day.
3 in a classroom was, that's being the average, was a very, very sad number. But it makes me sort of pleased and happy to see that it's being addressed and considered and is taken into account. So we have a proposal for the 6,600. Who seconded that? Councillor Thomas? Okay. Okay, right. All those in favour of that proposal? Okay, right. Are you keeping score? Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, Henley Baptist Church. Proposal? Councillor Gaveshock.
Propose the full amount.
You second that, sir?
Yeah, I'm seconding that.
Okay. All's in favour? Okay, that's passed.
Can you do that one last or not?
River and Row Museum?
Yeah, and then we don't have to
Okay, let's leave that one for now.
Just so that Rory and I can step out at the end.
Okay. We're gonna have to go through all that performance again, aren't we?
Yeah, I'll make it less dramatic.
Riverside Counselling Service, who are asking for 8,000 for these next 3 years. Councillor Plant.
Oh, mine, let's go full again. This ranks similar to me, to be
Councillor Sons, okay, yeah. All's in favour of that proposal? Okay. Rena Henley, this one might take a little bit longer. I was thinking of making the proposal that we fund the schools project, which is 4,200, I think. Which is the top of page 100. Those three numbers seem to be those three events. That's 4,200. And in addition, the Big Green Week, which is 4,085.
Yeah,
I think.
Full on supported it.
Which comes to 8,285. I think.
Second that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's part of the proposal that this is also to be discussed with the climate emergency working
Yes.
group, and any projects that fit maybe more with Henley and Bloom could go to there for possible funding.
Yes, let's talk about
I was just going to suggest Nature Squared, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, there might be others. So this isn't the end of the road. It's
No, that we encourage to go to CEW.
So they should decide what it is that they're going to how they're going to divide up these projects, and whether or not if they're assigned to Rena Henley as being ideal, whether the Plant and Motion Work Group wishes to recommend that some of its funding, which it does have, can be used for that. Okay, but that's a separate process. But yeah, we certainly recommend that they consider that. So we have a proposal. Did that get seconded? Councillor Hunt. Okay. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Kenton Theatre Management Company. Right, so Councillor Hunt, you.
I'll make the same proposal that you basically put forward earlier. 1 year review, but for the full amount.
Yes, and also with a desire to after the review that we consider a further 3-year agreements after that. So just to emphasise, this is so we stay in touch, so we understand what's happening, and we refine any of the details which come out of the review. So for the next 3 years. Okay, so you have a proposal there and a second from Councillor Plant. Sorry.
No, sorry, I was just voting in favour of it.
Okay, all those in favour?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
How much have we got left now of the, how much are we up to so far?
So
21,800.
So, well, so far I've got in total.
Yeah, what do we want?
You had 47,875.
Okay, so we've got 11,000 from next year's amount still left. So Henley Hawks Netball Club. Who was first?
Me.
Councillor Gavin.
Sorry,
You say
Yeah, go 5. They've already had 1,000 from,
Go
so
on.
1,300 becomes 1,200. I propose that we give them £6,000 because that enables them to get a 50% grant from SODC for another £6,000. So that's my proposal.
Councillor Hinton.
I thought you were
going 4.
I'm
I'm
voting.
racing to get 5, and then you went 6. So I'm like fully in support.
I'm just voting in favour of it.
Purely because
I think it's great.
the 50%.
Yeah, 50%.
Yeah,
Right, there is some logic.
Yeah.
Which I don't
First time for everything.
which I don't normally employ. Yes.
Encouraging people to go for a range of income sources is always a good thing to do, because it spreads the load.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a proposal second. All those in favour of that proposal? Right, thank you.
Was that 6,000?
6,000, yeah. And so that leaves us with the River and Rain Museum, and
Have a nice drink.
oh,
How much have we got left? Not a lot.
we haven't got much of the 58 left, but we have got
I've got the other bit.
So taking into account the other bit.
16,500.
Yes.
right. Okay, so
16,515.
Oh, I get 25, but it's Is there
Oh, well, I'll go with yours, it's better than that.
Uh,
16,525.
B3 Young Terrace is 6,600.
It is.
Well, maybe I missed something there.
It's fine. Anyway, about 16 grand.
Okay, so,
So that.
councillor Platt, so,
Yeah.
I think we've agreed in principle that we would like to get, we would like to defer this, pending further information on the commercial side of the organisation and other factors. But we can give an indicative amount if we want. We don't have to do that. We leave that up to full council, but if we can arrange to meet the rebranding before January the 9th.
So we've got 16,000, which covers the options of 10 and 15. I don't think we should give a proposal. I think we do need the commercial information about how it's going before we decide whether it's going to be 15 or 10.
Given that we haven't got, we are
Yeah.
trying to squeeze the something out of a budget, then I suggest we defer it and say that we look forward to hearing from them further justification and answer to questions.
I mean, they could have answered it tonight, but they chose not to, so.
That's true. Yeah.
Could I just comment?
Tony.
I think that it would be sensible, given their circumstances, as I've seen, with very few renters coming into the property, they're probably going through a tough time.
Yeah.
And I suggest that perhaps we might like to say it might be our intention to give 15,000 if they give indication of what their commercial programme is. But it might be also that you might decide to make it for 1 year rather than for 3 years.
I think we'll need to discuss it at when we've had the meeting. Who would like to meet with them if we if and when we do meet? So Councillor Thomas, Councillor Plant.
Kelly might want to.
Kelly.
Yeah, they only can't speak about it. Okay. So we can bring them back in to decide that. Okay. So yeah.
Yes, young man.
Be interesting at the full council because Kelly will have to leave the chair and vacate it for the deputy mayor. Deputy mayor will have to leave the chair and leave it to someone else.
Could be just a report.
Right. So we're going to arrange the meeting with deferred decision.
We know, we listened on YouTube.
Oh, is that allowed?
Well,
that's
it's public streaming, so.
Would either or both of you like to be in the meeting that we arrange with them?
If my diary allows for it, of course.
Yeah, as in principle, yes. Okay.
If there's any specific questions, I can take it to the trustees meeting in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, well, we'd like to meet before January the 9th, really, before we set the budget. So Councillor Thomas and Councillor Plant have said they'd like to be there, so we'll need to arrange that. Okay, right. Okay, I think do we have to do a literary festival?
Yes, please.
So we have to do a literary festival, which that comes out of a separate budget.
Because it's an imaginary.
And so we have a proposal for, so there's a, you would have thought grants would be simple, but because you have me fooled.
Free use never is.
Right, okay. So there's a request for free use of 17,496. Someone would like to make a proposal. Councillor Plant, it looks like you're going.
I shall propose free money.
Second for that, please. Madam Mayor, all those in favour? Okay, thank you. Right, we're done. Thank you. Thank you particularly for for you listening patiently to our discussions. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for what you do for the town. And we're grateful for all of what you do in your different ways, which is it's always a very positive meeting this one, even if some of the things that you tell us are a bit harrowing at times.
Also, we're a long way from done.
Right, escape to the Louvre. 2 minutes, right? We'll resume in 2 minutes.
Basically,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Well, sorry,
Yeah,
for being grilled again.
Oh,
Pantomime, yeah.
We still have tickets.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, yes, they do.
He's behind you. Go on, Swan, off you go. Yeah, black one.
Oh, giving away money, so cheerful.
Always leads to the odd.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
It's not our good support. They wrote it 9 times in the application. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, good. Right, draft budget, yes,
No,
pass.
yeah.
Technically, it's Ian's out. I can see it. Oh, yeah.
Energy grants, yes, it is, yeah.
Minutes.
Can we finish in about 5 minutes?
No problem.
I really hope so, because I'm already missing my game
Never gonna happen. Of what?
on my phone.
Oh, what's the women's football score at the moment? Any of it?
None of us are football fans, so.
Scotland, mate.
I
Scotland.
don't even watch the men's.
Are they not?
Yeah, they've got to win it in order to have a chance at the Olympics.
Poor Scotland.
Yeah, when
It's not going badly.
Leaves my agenda outside my door.
Well, what's it not going badly? Is it a
5-0.
rugby score? 5-0. Oh, Scotland,
We finished, okay?
Yeah, right, okay, did you get through the agenda, okay?
Yeah, Rob just
Yeah.
flew through it in like 3 minutes.
Right, okay, let's try and, I was hoping for a 9:15 finish.
Yeah.
Okay, so item number 4 minutes.
Can I say one thing before you go on, and Russia? It's really important, I think the Henry Sam, sorry, we give £110,000 worth of grants. It's Henry residents' money, but it's worth actually making that point, that it's a large amount of grants. Then our next budget, it's 132,000 that we may or may not give away, but, not give away is the wrong word, but it's just the global figure of £110,000. Thank you. Sorry, Chair, carry on.
And some of them are quite small grants. Sometimes we just do sort of 50 or £100. There's a small grants meeting as well. So there's a whole range of you saw the bigger ones today. Okay, minutes, to approve the minutes, I'm going to be speeding in this meeting.
Yeah, go for it.
So, can I proposal for the
Acceptance, please.
right,
Yeah.
second, all those in favour?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. To approve and note any recommendations within the notes of the 357 working group.
Acceptance.
Okay, well, right, to receive the management accounts, bank reconciliations and summary of payments. I know you had some questions. Did you speak to the council about that?
I'm afraid I didn't have a chance.
Yeah,
today,
I
so can deal with that outside.
I suggest you do that.
You've been on holidays. You look a bit tanned.
Tell me that while I was in the toilet.
We're not speaking to you.
So I'm about to propose that we receive all the items in listed in agenda item 5.
Very cold here.
All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Expenditure, to approve the following items of expenditure, the energy contracts. So this is, this document arrives separately.
Oh, this is this document that I read over.
So there is, energy.
There's a recommendation in there.
There's a recommendation at the end. Do you have anything you want to say, Town Clerk? I mean, on this, I didn't know you could get green gas. But now I do.
I didn't know you could green gas either until a few days ago, so it's been a very quick learning.
There is a deliberate error
midday.
in section
Well,
2.1.
should know, because Reading buses run on green gas.
Oh, was it actually green gas?
Town,
Wasn't just
town
gas?
buses, yeah.
Right, okay.
It's called biomethane,
Green gas.
biomethane.
Yeah, okay, so we have a recommendation that there, which is to switch to this is the only one, isn't it? So, yeah, energy contract.
It's not the it's the recommendation. So it's the.
You're right, yes. No, I knew there was looking at the wrong thing. Right, so there's a recommendation on page 4 of 4 on the temporary, which is that we give the authority to the town clerk to negotiate this for the next 2 years.
Yep.
So I propose that as on the agenda paper.
I think we can.
Seconder, Councillor Hoskins. All those in favour? No, thank you. And switching to green gas across the council estate. We have a recommendation that we do switch.
That's already been.
Oh, okay, right.
It's already been done.
You're confused. Right. We're ahead, we're further ahead, I'm behind. Item 7, the 2024-25 draft budget.
Spend it all.
We already have.
That's on page 41. Starting on page 41.
I don't know, it seemed pretty interesting.
Has anyone here arrived?
So,
Is it relevant to postpone this discussion?
no, we don't need to postpone it. We should note where we are as a minimum, I think. And councillor, sorry, not councillor, and clerk.
There you go.
You're not one.
So with the, so there has been a slight movement in it. So this does include the £5,000 that was proposed by the Town and Community Committee for the No Manager grant to tackle antisocial behaviour. What it doesn't include is the item that has just been discussed on expenditure, the predicted increase in utility in energy costs, which will be around about £11,000 as well. So if that is added on, then that's an additional £11,000, which would take the precept up to, so the recommendation is that the precept then would rise in order to achieve a balanced budget. It would rise from the figure that you have there to 808,700. So that's an increase of about 11,000.
Which we are surely going to blow out at the door.
And as I think you noted earlier, that we would require a 9.3% interest increase in the precept to balance the budget at that point.
To balance the budget.
Yeah.
Based on those.
So in principle, do we want to agree to that? We are aiming for a balanced budget, so this all remains subject to the final cycle and the approval of the final council the 9th of January at the full council. Councillor Platt, you.
I was going to say, I think at this moment, given the discussions we had before this, we do exactly that. We know where we are currently. Yes. We look for the subsequent 2 meetings that we've got coming out, or the 1 meeting for the 9th, and we reassess our position there before making final decisions.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I was going to say. We note where we are at the moment in the present cycle. So that's all we're just noting. We're not improving or disapproving. We are just noting.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I was going to ask is, I mean, do we know how much this would work out on average per household if we went ahead with this 9% increase?
Yes.
Currently, it's £119.67.
Yeah.
Average band D, and actually, I haven't got the figure for.
So it'd be about 120.
Yeah, that's not going to.
So we're talking about £10 per household per year, which, as I think, I'm surprised.
£10 per household per year,
Yeah, on average.
or £10 per household per month?
Per year.
Per year.
Well, that's nothing.
It's
Just
the total is about that per the total amount, but the increase is £10 per household per month. And yeah, so £129 is still less than the other towns in Oxfordshire, as Councillor Gabisher always likes to remind us, but so I'll get in ahead of it.
I'd like to make 2 points. One is that it's a small amount. We do a lot, what we get. We've got a lot coming up. And I've sat around this table discussing budgets now for a long time. And it's really nice to not hear, let's freeze it. You know, because it's just such a stupid suggestion. It's always been a stupid suggestion to not increase. It should always be a slow, steady increase. And I think we need to go higher, actually. I don't think £10 per household is possibly enough for what we need.
Wait till January the 9th.
Well,
Let's do it now.
No, we've got another discussion.
Of course, let's just, I'm going to move on very quickly, but I just want to say that the the money that we raise, yeah, and there is a cost of living crisis. There have been for the last 2 or 3 years. Money is tight for people, and problems arise because of that. And what we've seen tonight is the sort of thing that we can help with people who do have problems, organisations who help people who have problems in the town, cope with them, deal with them, overcome them, and we contribute to helping with that. And the money that we do charge in council tax goes towards helping people, and those are very important. That's a very important function. And the principle of what I think the mayor's saying is exactly right. We should not be apologetic in any way about charging council tax. We should only be apologetic if we don't use it properly, and we are very carefully sitting here and making sure that we use it properly for the benefit of residents, particularly those who need it most. Yep. Okay, so I propose therefore with that we note the increased figures that the town clerk reported, and look forward to continue to review that before we approve this finally on January 9th at full council fire. So move. Okay, all those in favour? Thank you. We now move on to larger grants we've done, including public and press. So I now propose that public and press be excluded from the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960, as publicity will be prejudicial to public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business. So move. Second.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Hope you enjoyed it.
You want to table your stuff?
You,
Put that on the fix.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.